Hello, Dr. Jimmy here, and it's still January 6th. I promised part 18 in my history of the event Universal Orlando Halloween Horror Nights 23. What evil has taken root? Will be all about Bill and Ted, because, or at least it'll start out with Bill and Ted, because that is in fact picking up where I left off the end of part 17, which I just finished a few seconds ago. I'm going right in making the next video. I'd reached a 30-minute mark and I needed to stop, so this is the second one, or rather the 18th video in my series on that event back in 2013. And so I started out with Bill and Ted. I talked about how the show introduced with Mike Aiello's children in an amusing video, which leads into, of course, we will rock you. Yeah, always. And then after that, a camp counselor comes out of a cabin, and it's played by a young actor who's been in several Bill and Teds. I think I'm not supposed to mention the actors by their names, although many of you know it. Let's just say this is a fellow who was in the Beetlejuice show playing a wolfman for a while, and he was also appeared in other Bill and Ted shows, most notably several years playing the werewolf Jacob from Twilight a few times, so you might know who I'm talking about. And he's also been a Jack's maniac in The Carnage Returns. So he's very muscular, lean little guy, and good dancer. And he comes out as a camp counselor, and he's wearing a sleeveless bright green shirt. Later on you'd see the full t-shirts, but the first ones were sleeveless because they wanted to show off the muscular arms of the dudes, you know. And so he's out there in Camp Morning Wood, and there's this ominous pow, pow, pow. You'd never want to hear that when you're out in a camp. You never want to hear that when you're camping, because you know what that means. And sure enough, lurching out of the shadows is a figure in a sinister Rocky mask. But it's not Jason Voorhees. It's a hot chick dressed like Jason, with like an overcoat and a hockey mask, but the rest of her is wearing a sexy dancer outfit. And she comes out, and then after her is a Freddy Krueger-looking girl with the glove and the hat and stripes. But again, sexy dancer and a ghost face. And I think there are a couple of other slashers. One that I guess is supposed to be Chucky, but you know, it's kind of hard to tell. It got a little more loose, but basically they were classic slasher characters as hot chicks dressed as classic slasher characters, and they start dancing to Fall Out Boy's The Phoenix, and that was the opening dance number. Of course, the other camp counselors come out, all hot guy dancers, including another fellow who has done a lot of well, I could say his name is Jason. I can get away with that because there are about 17 different Jasons involved in Bill and Ted. There's like 2 or 3 other actors who are Jasons, and the guy who directs the show is named Jason, and one of the and director and writer of the show for the past few years. If you went backstage and yelled, "Hey, Jason," you'd have like all these people saying "Yeah" at once. Especially in 2013, there were lots of Jasons involved. So I'm not giving anything away. But these hot dancers come out, and at least 2 of them were named Jason, so which is which? But, hot muscular guys, and they're out dancing in their green sleeveless Camp Morning Wood t-shirts with the hot chicks. And of course, as the dance progresses, most of the bulky overcoat type things come off, and they're wearing little bras and little shorts, and most of the scary masks are gone except for Freddy's hat and glove, but still she's doing the sexy dance, and they have ripped off the outer t-shirt, so now the lads are only wearing little shorts and no tops at all, and they're all dancing quite sexy together like you're supposed to in the opening Bill and Ted number. And it's like, wow. So you're all getting hot no matter who you're looking at. So it's very good. After they got done with the dance number, and as I said, it sort of set a tone that was all about cabins in the woods and Evil Dead in a way, because that was somewhat the theme, because they had both houses the same year, remember? So Bill and Ted show up in their phone booth, as always. And then, who do they meet first? Well, coming out of the woodwork is Dr. Sheldon Cooper, and Penny from Big Bang Theory, which was at the height of its popularity. And they come out and make a lot of jokes. There's a laugh track every time they say something remotely funny. They make a dick joke, something like, it's not the angle of it's not the length of your vector, it's the force that you apply, or something along those lines. That's a dick joke, yes. And that became a running gag in later shows. Whenever they made a dick joke, they would point it out. That's a dick joke. Yes, that even to this past year, the dick joke thing. So that there was a lot of traditions started in 2013 that running gags in later years that continue. That was one of them. So they do some shtick, of course, and then we're introduced to Bill's new girlfriend. Ted. Ted has a girlfriend now, and Bill is kind of jealous apparently because he seems to be angry that Ted has a girlfriend. The moment she shows up, he starts disparaging her. Of course, it is Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift, and he starts making jokes about Taylor Lautner and about Joe Jonas and other people who've been with Taylor Swift. Like, this is not exactly fresh here. This has been gone around the block several times, and you're lucky she doesn't write a song about you when you get split up. But anyway, Ted and Taylor apparently are completely madly in love, but Taylor wants to find her journal. And so they try to find it, but what they find is not exactly Taylor Swift's journal. Let's see, where did I put that thing? Oh, it's down there. Be right back. It's time for a visual aid, or a prop, whatever you want to call it. So I have to come over here to the other side of the room and hunt around in this strangeness. Ah, there it is. There it is. Yes. Something that looks a bit like this. Dun dun dun! Yes. And of course, The Evil Dead was a house that year, so people recognize this terrible tome, and he takes it out and says, and Penny says, "Ooh, it's moist." And Ted says, "And it smells like cheese." And Taylor takes it and says, "This isn't my journal. There's already writing in it." And as always happens in these situations, the silly girl reads the damn Latin. You're not supposed to read the Latin. Didn't you see the movie? But no, she does. And she begins to read. Mulier ex hominis confusio. And there's thunder and lightning, and everyone goes, ooh. Now, not many people got this joke because they don't know Latin, but I do. And I laughed, and I've never explained this before, but in case you didn't know, what she just read, if you're thinking of Taylor Swift, is quite funny. Mulier ex hominis confusio. In Latin is woman is man's ruin. A bit misogynist, yes, but it's a quote. I forget who actually said that, but some old Roman guy who didn't like women, apparently, or blaming everything on the girl. That's typical of these old writers back in those days. From the Bible to everywhere, they blame women for everything. Pandora, Eve, all of them. They caused all the problems. So that's the sort of quote. Woman is man's ruin. So that's what she actually read. But when you think of it in the context of Taylor Swift, it's funny. At least it is to me. Sheldon Cooper would have got it. Yeah, I bet. So, now, it's Sheldon, however, who looks on Wikipedia and says, oh, wait a minute, I know that book. I know what that is. And you're thinking, it's a Necronomicon, Sherlock. But no, it isn't. It's the book of totally bad, dead stuff. Yeah. And apparently, if you read the incantation, it turns innocence into ungodly evil. In Taylor Swift's case, was she actually innocent to begin with? I don't know. But she continues to read, and this time it's silly things like Ryan Lochte, douche canoe, and something. And when she finishes that, oh, she's transformed. She's possessed. Now she is possessed. We're going to get you. Gonna swallow your soul. That kind of stuff. So Evil Dead is happening now in front of us, and possessed Taylor Lochte comes after them. And of course, now Ted is never going to get laid. And even worse, she passes the curse to Penny. And so Penny is possessed. And so how are we going to deal with it? Sheldon has a very simple solution. He pulls out a gun and shoots her in the head. Except it doesn't work. It's not that kind of dead. It's not Walking Dead, it's Evil Dead, dumb bastard. So he ends up being chased off the stage by Penny while frantically singing, "Soft kitty, warm kitty, little ball of fur." So they go off the stage. So now we find out also that before he left, he had revealed that this evil book was bound in human foreskin. Excuse me. Yes, which is why it smelled like cheese. So, oh, come off it, Jimmy. We know you've had worse than that in your hands. No, let's not tell tales. All right, let's see. Okay. Now, where was I? Oh, yes. Turns out the possessed power of Taylor Swift, and Ted is trying to make nice even still, saying pumpkin spice latte tay. No, she has unleashed her power. They decide to throw her into the outhouse and lock her up. But dumbass Bill and Ted, they lock her up in the phone booth by mistake instead of in the outhouse. And so she goes off in the phone booth to gather other victims to possess. They lost their phone booth again. Like that happens almost every year, doesn't it? A villain gets a hold of the phone booth. So, what happens next? Well, they think the cabin's on fire, but actually it's James Franco, the great and powerful Oz, because that movie had come out earlier, and he's stoned out of his mind. And with him is Gandalf, who's also his brother wizard, who's been enjoying a bit of the magic herbs, and they're kind of, trippy and happy. They make a lot of Lord of the Ring jokes or whatever, jokes about pot jokes, and all of a sudden here comes Melissa McCarthy. I don't know what Melissa McCarthy movie was out that year. They didn't have her as character, they had her as Melissa McCarthy. She comes running out, there's a flip over the picnic table, and it says, there's some totally evil shit happening in the woods. Now, I have to point out the actress who played Melissa McCarthy, again, without naming names, is a certain actress who has played similar characters the past several years and has been noticed by the fans of the show as becoming one of the best ones in the show, and she's hysterically funny. She also played Paula Deen in the same show that year, 2013. More recently, she played the Wookiee mom this year, and she co-wrote the show in 2016. So she's moving from just doing various bit parts. She had been Honey Boo Boo the year before, I think, moving up to becoming a creator of the show as well. And she's very talented, so I have to give kudos to her. And she was, as I said, she played, at this point, Melissa McCarthy, warning Bill and Ted that there's some totally evil shit happening in the woods, and that now, in addition to Taylor Swift being possessed, whatever happened to Penny, we never find out as far as I know, but now, in addition, is Miley Cyrus, Serena Gomez, and Vanessa Hudgens has been possessed as well. Oh dear. So, they're worried about that. And who comes along to help but Tonto and the Lone Ranger from the stupid remake that came out that year. And of course, Tonto is played by Johnny Depp, who doesn't seem to realize what movie he's in. He's doing shtick from Pirates of the Caribbean and from other films, Edward Scissorhands, God knows what he's totally out of his mind. And the Lone Ranger is just trying to understand how he is in the movie that really seems to be starring Johnny Depp instead of himself. So poor Lone Ranger is not even the star of his own movie. And that's when Gandalf and Oz go back into the back and are attacked by Miley Cyrus, whom they mistake for Gollum. Apparently they're killed. And this horrible creature is not Gollum, it's Miley Cyrus possessed. She's got a teddy bear on her backpack, and she's just completely freaky and awful and horrible. Everybody runs off, but along comes a duck hunter to shoot off at Miley Cyrus. It's the duck hunter from the reality program with the awful ZZ Top beard, right-wing maniac with his little... and then he appears 2 or 3 times in the show with different duck calls that are supposed to help. They rarely do. But he's celebrity hunting, and he shot at Miley Cyrus, but she runs off. So the duck hunter has a Broadway duck call, and that's supposed to help. But what it does is it brings on another actor, and this is the one that I've mentioned before. He was in the video the same year. He appeared in the video as a scientist in Havoc Derail, a fellow I've known for many years, and he's playing is it Fantine? No, it's not Fantine. Who's the... Again, I have to check. It's Les Miserables, right? Les Miserables, the movie had been out. Who's the one who sings I Dreamed a Dream? I Dreamed a Dream. And in the... Oh, it is sung by Fantine. I was right the first time. That's right. Fantine is Cosette's mother, right? So he's as Fantine. Of course, remember Anne Hathaway had all her hair cut off so she could play, in that scene. And when he sings the song, so here he comes in the white dress with the short hair, and he starts, "I dreamed a dream," all this, starts singing a song, and he's interrupted by someone dressed in the similar garb, the revolutionary French garb, like a little Napoleon, who starts doing some dance breaks and making fun of him, and then he gets mad, and they start doing different, and it eventually ends up with "What Did the Fox Say?" It's a rather silly bit, but I always got up and clapped brava for the "I Dreamed a Dream" bit, the Les Miserables bit. So it's a silly bit, but it was hysterically fun. It's hard to describe it, but it worked when you saw it. It was funny. Parody of that. Okay. So after it descends into "What Did the Fox Say?" and they run off, then who should show up but Sofia Vergara? I mean, that makes perfect sense. She comes out of a cabin and in a very thick Colombian accent, and wants Billy and Ted to come with her because she's going to tell ghost stories. Because it's camp, you tell ghost stories. And so she organizes a ghost story session, and other people come for the ghost stories. Paula Deen, yes, Paula Deen, fresh off the racism scandal for using the naughty N-word too many times, and she comes in holding a stick of butter, just chewing it right off the stick, because she's fat. And she's out there, the fat old white racist, and also joining them is Django from Django Unchained, and the joke is made that he used that word, hundreds of times on purpose, where she claims to be accidental, and she tries to apologize for racism. Says, "I'm sorry," I said, and it gets bleeped out. And just going on, it's bleep, 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 and she's doing all sorts of rude gestures while she's doing like slamming the butter into her crotch. I mean, what the hell is she saying? Asks Bill, and Ted says, "I think she's apologizing for eating a Snickers." Yes, and right, and but Django and Paula seem to hit it off in a rather creepy way, and then there's the screaming goat. It wasn't bleeped out. The screaming goat shows up. The screaming goat isn't the goat at all. Just like in the video memes, it's a sheep. A little sheep head puppet pops out of a cabin window and screams, "Ah!" like a screaming goat would. "What's a goat doing here?" And of course, Sofia, "Hola, screaming goat!" And every time Paul is about to say something horrifically racist and use N-words and other words, God knows who she's insulting, probably everybody, the little goat pops out and screams, and so you don't hear it. It's not bleeped out, it's screamed out by a screaming goat who's really a sheep. Again, you kind of had to see it, but it made sense at the time. So they all gather around together. Sofia Vergara, Django, or Django, Bill and Ted, and Paula Deen to tell ghost stories. And Sofia saying to us, this camp deep in the woods, and there were these evil brujas that showed up with a chainsaw. And as she's saying this, of course, Vanessa Hudgens with a chainsaw comes up behind her, and a goat tries to warn them. They don't notice. Next thing, there he is, and chases them off again. So after everyone gets chased off the stage by Vanessa Hudgens with a chainsaw, stepping out is Ron Burgundy. And he's not wearing any pants. He just has on some boxer briefs. And I think he identifies himself as Drunky McDrunkerson, but we know it's Ron Burgundy. And he goes up there and scotchity, and he tells us a little bit of backstory about what's all going on, which I don't even remember. But he has the Steve Carell character from Ron Burgundy show up on the screen behind him, and he gets attacked by Taylor Swift Possessed, who shows up in the phone booth and kills him. So that's a little bit of that. It's amusing. It's quite funny. Ron Burgundy shtick, and the movie hadn't even come out yet, so it was actually a highlight. And Steve Carell's last words are Burt Reynolds' chest hair for some reason. Then Bill and Ted are back on stage with Kanye and Kim. Years before they became the villains of the show, Kanye and Kim are there again this time, and they're about to have a baby because Kim is very pregnant. Of course, she did have a baby that year, and she's having some trouble. She lies on the picnic table, her legs up in the air, spread out, and they're reaching in to try to pull the baby. Oh, there's my gold chain. Yeah, putting it back on and trying to get the baby out, and Ted's like, she's a Kardashian. Shouldn't it just fall out? And eventually the baby is pulled out, and Kanye is holding the baby. That's my son. And Kim's like, it's a girl. She has no penis. Of course, it would be Northwest or whatever her name is. But Kanye throws the baby off stage. It's all kind of scary. But he gets chased off the stage because here comes Selena Gomez with an axe. So that's how they get rid of Kanye on that show. He never comes back as far as I know. But then the duck hunter comes along with another duck call to save Bill and Ted from Selena Gomez with an axe. And this is a voice call. That conjures up the voice. And it had the judges of that particular time period, which were Blake Shelton, Shakira, and CeeLo Green with a little white kitty cat, which of course is stuck, but he swings it over his head going, whee, at some point. It's got a kitty. So, well, where's Adam Levine, you say? Or Levine, or however you pronounce his damn name. Well, he shows up a bit later. So, Selena Gomez, as a mic comes down, she goes over as a possessed zombie Evil Dead and starts competing and singing. I don't remember what song it was, but they like it. And they're all ready to give her a go. But then Adam Levine shows up. He's been in the outhouse the whole time. He's sitting on the toilet in like a vest, that is American language Guido shirt, you know, the sleeveless white tank tops, and his boxers, and he's like, he's trying to take a poop, and they bring him out. He doesn't want Selena Gomez on Team Levine, and so there's lots of back and forth. I think Blake Shelton says, "Are you taking a shit, or are you making another Maroon 5 album?" You know, that kind of naughty humor. And then you think that he's in deadly danger because coming up behind him on the back of the toilet is what appears to be another possessed pop star going, "Swallow your soul, swallow your soul." But it turns out it's not possessed. It's Amanda Blake, I think it is. Is that the name? Amanda Bynes. Amanda Bynes, and she's busy tweeting constantly and selfieing and tweeting and just being stupid. So eventually they all get chased off as well. So when all of that's done, Bill and Ted are on the stage wondering what the fuck, and they go and they find a note on the cabin inviting them to a party. Oh, a party. Who's going to throw a party here? And it says, the Great Biebsby. The Great Biebsby? And it's Justin Bieber as the Great Gatsby, in a parody of the Great Gatsby 3D movie that had come out that year, but with Justin Bieber, because he threw Gatsby-themed parties and he was a total douche. Played by the same woman actress who had played him previously and would play him again later. Not actually a different actress playing, but the sort of butch girl who played Justin Bieber a couple of times before, and keeping the running gag in Orlando that Justin Bieber's really a girl. In Hollywood, they used an actual boy to play Justin Bieber, but not in Orlando. I'll get to Hollywood later. There was a bad year for Hollywood's Bill and Ted in 2013. So the Gatsby-Bieber shtick, they use it to make fun of Bieber, you know, I left my monkey in Germany. And the sign comes up, true. And and if you post about my party, I'll sue you for $5 million. True. And what was the other thing? It was Ted and Bill stopped saying, Justin Bieber's a douche. Very true. Justin Bieber pees sitting down. You know. And but he continues with his party. Two flappers on the two dance boxes, as well as Justin up top. But concludes the party to show them how they rock by bringing out the Harlem Shake. And a little guy comes out wearing a helmet, and a motorcycle helmet, and starts the whole Harlem Shake thing. And he gets up in the audience and starts, you know, lap dancing on certain guests and all sorts of stuff in the front row. And while that's going on, all the rest of the cast come out doing stupid-ass things like in the Harlem Shake videos that were popular at the time, till it ends and they're all gone. So another weird moment. And everyone's off the stage, and that allows them to, for the very first time, start the Game of Thrones running gag, which would continue throughout Bill and Ted's, even to this past year. And this was the first time they did Game of Thrones, so everything's dark, and suddenly you have the music. Dun 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 dun, and all of a sudden out comes someone dressed like a medieval outfit. I don't know which character he was actually supposed to be. Perhaps John, no, probably Robb Stark or whatever, one of the Starks. And then a woman who is pregnant, of course, his wife. Then after that, a sort of guy in a hood with an axe and a sword. And then the best one, in her flowing with all the cleavage, Daenerys with a little stuffed plushy dragon on her shoulder comes out, and then one of the guys in the cast named Jason, I won't tell you which one, coming out on his knees as Peter Dinklage, as what's the little dwarf's name? Starts with a T. Let's see. It's been almost a year since I saw Game of Thrones. Phone's ringing. Fuck it. So he comes out there on his little... So they have that there. Then all of a sudden, everybody dies. The executioner whacks one with a knife, and someone stabs the other one. Next thing you know, all of them are dead, and they're all lying on the floor, completely dead. I think one of Miley Cyrus or Selena Gomez or Vanessa Hudgens killed the last one, because they killed each other, and then the other one. So they're all dead, and suddenly, up on the screen, they have one of those in memoriams like they have at award shows, the Oscars, Golden Globes. Golden Globes is happening day after tomorrow. It's going to have a hell of a in memoriam video, won't it, after 2016? I kind of dread the award shows because those little videos are going to be quite awful. I'm not picking up. It's after business hours anyway. Jesus. Keeps ringing. I have to ignore it. If it came up on the other phone, I'd answer it, but not that one. But anyway, the Game of Thrones moment, they're all dead, and in memoriam, and it has that Game of Thrones guy, the pregnant woman. Random executioner, Peter Dinklage. Not the name of the character, it's just Peter Dinklage. And the last one up there, Dragon Boobs for Daenerys. And that's where the Dragon Boobs, and they're calling her Princess Dragon Boobs, and they call her that every damn Bill and Ted up until last year when she made her appearance. Dragon Boobs! So that's become a running gag. Game of Thrones and Dragon Boobs has become a running gag, starting with this one in 2013. And then after that, one last dead person, or one last dead thing in the Memoriam RIP tribute, and that was A-Rod's career. Again, some of these jokes don't date well, but in 2013 that was hysterical. And I have to finish this in another video, part 19.